Hello, everybody. I'm Mel Doerr, the Aloha Shirt Psychic, and I have the one, the only Linda G in the house. Yeah,
Also known as a San Francisco 49er fan.
I love the shirt. Uh,
Hey, listen, I talked to my sister. She, Happy Memorial Day, by the way. I got my flag out and hung it. Um, she finally, finished school.
yes.
I guess she's going with you. We're having the big powwow, the Comanche powwow, the end of September, and she can't make it because it goes too close to you guys leaving.
Yeah, that's right. I
I think the
forgot.
next day I'm going to the powwow,
Okay.
but she's going with you
She's coming to
too.
Iceland
I
with
think
us.
you guys will have a good time. Do
I'm
you still got tickets for that?
I'm sorry, say again.
Do you still have tickets for your Iceland event?
Yes, I do. I still have openings for Iceland. So if you're interested, it's not that expensive. Come with us. You can email me, www.meldor, meldorr.com, or you can call my office, 847-590-5411. Um, and I've got openings to Peru. The trip, the Italian and French Riviera, it's coming home today. I couldn't go on that trip because
Oh,
I
that's right. That's right.
just had surgery, but everybody loved it. They said that the mega yacht was incredible and it was an
Oh, that's fantastic.
so yay. Um,
That's great.
and I'm so glad that Debbie finished school. I'm so proud of her. And
She said her body actually hurts.
oh yeah,
She takes things very seriously and energetically. She's in it, so she worked her pachikas off and
she,
physically it can be very tough on her.
she's a treat to be around. She really is.
She's funny, you guys. She's got a good sense of humor. Anybody that meets her on that trip.
I tell the story the first time I ever went to Sedona to meet Linda. It was really hot that day, and we were on that shuttle, and I think we were going to pick up the car, and it was hot.
Oh God. And even with the air conditioner blowing,
And
did nothing. Fortunately, that shuttle's gone. Phoenix has a tram now that takes you to.
yeah, yep. But that shut it was hot, and I was sitting next to Debbie, and I didn't know anybody. I mean, I met you for the. I mean, we had known each other from shows, but we met at the airport, and a lot of the people that were presenting. But Deb sat next to me on the shuttle, and we got in a great conversation. I think we talked all the way.
So you didn't even think about the heat.
Didn't think about the heat because we were in such a good conversation.
One thing about Deb, she's the hostess with the mostest.
Yeah, so are
My
you.
parents were very good at entertaining other people that came over. When we were kids, we had to get, offer a drink or something, with that social stuff was very important to them. So, uh, my sister really has the gift.
That's how my mom was. She was,
My brother did too. Yeah.
oh, please, you're a
If
great.
you're talking and I'm done with you, I'm done with you.
Yeah, right.
I'll be sitting there going, next.
I'll be like, "Meh." You're an excellent hostess. You're the hostess with the mostest. So,
Well, yeah, not really, but yeah, thank you.
no, you do a great job. All right, we've got some
We
questions.
want to do a shout out to our friend Andrew.
Yes,
You're
Andrew,
going to have him on the show. You need to set that up.
let's do it. We'll set it up. It's Androniki products, and
I just used it this morning. It just really suits because I'm still kind of hurting right here and it's a little dry and it just replenishes your skin.
it's A
And
and
it's not expensive.
no, it's not. It's ANDRO dash Niki NIKI, the website. The product is Andro plus Niki NIKI. Um, there's seven different serums and the moisturizer. So I put the moisturizer on. I just take a drop of each serum and I rub it all together and I put it on my face. Andrew was telling me which ones to use. I go, I make it simple. I use them all. And it's good for your hands too. So,
Yes, yes. And back where I have a scar, it's not very big on both sides here, on the side where my ear is. It got real, crusty, bloody. And so I was using that stuff. It made it feel good right away.
as soon as my incisions heal a little bit more, they still got the glue on them because they're glued on the outside. They're tiny, but there's one about yay long. But
Okay.
um,
How do you feel, by the way?
I'm still sore with the incision sites, and my colon is still a little bit wonky, and meaning, there's no happy medium with it. It's unpredictable. But that's normal, I think, after the surgery. But I'm not sick. Before the surgery, I was sick, and I don't feel that sickness anymore. And so, you know, um, of all the major surgeries I've had, this one was the easiest. After my surgery, I did test positive for C. diff, so I have to keep an eye on that. But it's common with this kind of surgery and being in the hospital. So, I'm doing the honey, I'm doing the probiotics, I'm slowly adding some fiber back in my diet, but I have to go slow because if I overdo it, my colon just doesn't
Have
like it.
you had an episode?
No episodes like a pain like I had before, but right now it's just different irregularity with with going to the bathroom.
Okay.
So it's getting there. And then I just had, you were right about one thing. I had a thing on the tip of my tongue, and I went to the surgeon that did my neck surgery, for my cancer, and she looked at it and she said she didn't think it was anything to worry about. And then
Yeah,
she had the scope done. So I'm on top of everything.
I know. You're very good like that.
Yeah, I don't mess around with that stuff. So
But
hopefully,
as the Trump administration says, Americans are too hooked on medical.
well, it saved my life. So
I know, but and they got top medicine. They got great coverage, but boy, the rest of you can eat cake.
it's easy for them to say that because you're right. They have the best coverage going, and the rest of us, it's like, well, you just kind of have to fend for yourself. And there's
Yeah.
one thing I've learned with medicine in this country, you really, 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 really have to advocate for yourself.
Oh, no kidding. Thank God I was a nurse.
Yep, that's right. And
And
think,
thank God I'm not afraid of doctors because I don't let a doctor talk down to me like, especially they did in the old days. When I was in nursing school in the 1980s, if you were at the, you know, can't even think of it now, it's where, your clerks are and you do your charting. In them days, you had a chart in a chart, and
oh,
the doctor walked in there. You had to stand up and give him your seat.
that wouldn't work with me.
Yeah,
I used to be a medical social worker in the 80s, and we had to chart and with pen, and each department had a different color.
oh
And
my God.
yep, but I was the head of social services. I ran three departments, and I used to hire the doctors. And if they had an attitude, they didn't see their patients like they should, they were gone.
Yeah,
I didn't care because my responsibility was to the patients.
yeah.
And so I'm like you. If they give me shtick, I don't put up with
I worked for the Department of Anesthesia when I was going through recovery with my back, and we hired the CRNAs,
it. Yes.
the nurse anesthetists, and they were wonderful people.
Oh yeah.
Most of them had great attitudes.
Most of the doctors that I've come in contact with are really nice. If they have attitude, I, I nip that in the bud right away. I'll tell you a real funny story, then we'll get to the questions. Once I was in the ER, and this resident came in and he was checking for my pulse here. And I said, I don't have a pulse in this arm, my left arm. He said, that's impossible. And the emergency room doctor was there. And I said, well, did you read my chart? He said, oh, yes, I read your chart. I said, my history? He said, yes, I read my history. I said, well, then if you would have read my history, you would have found out that a few years ago I had triple bypass and they took this artery as a graft. That's why I don't have a pulse there. And his mouth just dropped open.
What did doctor say that was standing next to him?
The ER doctor said, you should always listen to your patients because they know what they're talking about.
I know when I had Jeffrey, and oh, I was in so much pain. And my doctor said he was going to keep me an extra day, but I refused to go into the ICU because I wanted Jeffrey with me. I didn't want them to take him. And she said, you're going to be in the morning, this woman who always called me sweetheart. You're going to be leaving today. I said, no, I'm not. She goes, yes, you are. Yeah. And I said, "Did you even look at my chart?" My doctor informed me yesterday. I was just so sick of that. And don't call me sweetheart, biatch.
I, um, this one doctor when I was in the hospital this last time, he was really cool, or the time before last. Young, but he was an attending. And he would come in and we'd tell jokes and laugh. And he said, I was afraid if I went home, I would have those painful attacks because they are excruciating.
Oh, I know.
And he said, I said, the last time they sent me home with tramadol and it wasn't much. I said, that was a cruel joke. He said, don't worry, I got you covered for pain. And then he came in this one day and he said, you want to go home today? And I said, is it okay if I would stay another day? And he said, nobody ever wants to stay another day. I said, I just want to make sure that this is all calmed down enough to get me home because I'm nervous. If I get home, I have another attack, I'll have to come right back. He said, I don't have a problem with that. And he was so cool. He was really,
Isn't that cool?
yeah. He wasn't like, his nose wasn't up in the air. I mean, I have to say
Yeah.
that Evanston Hospital where I was,
I was going to say, because usually the insurance won't, if they say you got to leave at this time, you're leaving at this time.
well, that's the good thing about Medicare is that, um, normally when I was under private insurance, would always have a copay, but this one I didn't pay anything.
All
Medicare
right.
it
Oh,
was,
is it Medicare that does that? Because my sister even noticed ever since she went on Medicare, they want to run every test in the book.
of course, because they make more money. Um, but then you have the supplemental copay, and I have that, so I haven't gotten any bills, and I have to
Wonderful.
pay.
Beautiful.
It's more money for prescriptions, but at the end of the day, it comes out cheaper because I've had so many surgeries. It's like, and mine are always huge. So
Yeah.
anyway, so we're ready to get to some questions.
Yes, absolutely. I
Oh,
have a show at 11 with Sherry, so
okay. So we got to hurry a little bit.
chop chop.
Chop, chop. Okay. Will the government cut HUD in housing programs such as Section 8?
It's already in the works.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Well,
Ron Johnson has announced he has enough votes not to pass this bill.
oh, good. The big beautiful bill.
Yeah.
Um,
But one of the cuts is with housing in Section 8, food stamps, all that. So will this get cut? Yes or no? They're looking at it.
they're
They're
gonna
looking to cut it.
they're gonna try to cut it, but my feeling is if they do, it'll go to court, and the courts will say no, you can't cut it like that.
Yeah, look, down the road, there'll be even more money put into it. It says hold on and things will turn around.
Um, and a lot of people are asking about the big beautiful bill. Yeah, right. Uh,
Yeah.
it dog tagged in there, snuck under something. It was like that. It limits the court's ability to hold people in contempt, like Donald Trump. And
Right, right.
I don't know if that part will pass. I think in the Senate, they're gonna try to take a lot of it out. But even if it does pass, I see people filing lawsuits with federal court, and the court's going to say that's unconstitutional, certain parts of it, like that Donald Trump can't be held in contempt. And if it goes to
Yeah.
the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court will say that part of that bill is unconstitutional. So I'm not
Wow.
worried about it much. What do you,
Right, right.
do you see it passing the Senate?
No, but everything with the Senate's going on is freezing. I don't know what they're going to pass, but it feels like a lot of these guys know they're not going to get voted in next time.
Well, if it does pass, it's going to be a nail in their coffin, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Nancy Schaefer, this is a good question. She says, do the Republicans know what they are doing by supporting DT?
Does who know?
Do the Republicans know what they are doing by supporting Donald Trump?
No, they're on auto drive. They almost have to. It's almost like they're not listening. Even Mike Johnson, when he's talking, is everybody knows it was the Christian foundation that this country was. No, it wasn't.
No. Um, I think behind the scenes they're talking about this, but I think many of them are still afraid to come forward and say anything because they don't want to face his wrath. But
Right,
there are a few Republicans, senators, and Republicans in the House that are really going to start turning even more anti-Trump. And I see that gaining momentum in the Republican Party. The MAGAs don't care. The MAGAs are supporting Trump because that fits right into their scheme of things. But some of the
right.
Republicans, I think, are thinking, what the hell are we doing? That's what I pick up anyway.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, this is good. Uh, you know, did you hear that Trump kind of rebuked Putin? Uh, and he called,
Yes, I saw his True Social. He says, I don't know, something's wrong with him, he said.
well, I wonder, Putin doesn't care, obviously, but he said, that he called the attacks crazy and that I guess Russia increased the drone attacks on Ukraine. I think today or last night was the biggest that they've had. I still don't see Ukraine giving up. I see
I
Ukraine.
don't either. And listen, it was announced by the German chancellor and everyone. They've just told Ukraine, you don't have any limits to what you shoot. So now they can go right into Moscow.
Oh, good.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering where is Putin getting the drones because his economy is broke. I think he's getting a lot of stuff from North Korea. That's what my guides tell me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He's definitely. Also, Putin has informed Iran not to do anything yet because I think Iran wants to hit Israel.
Right, right.
But I remember I always felt like Putin was furious at Trump.
Yes, you've been saying that. That's right.
And I feel like he wants to take him out. He wants to take Trump out, but I see Putin getting taken out. I don't know if it's intel within our organization or intel even with Ukraine. They've got a fantastic, these assassinations that are happening in the different countries are Ukraine.
Right.
They got top notch assassinators.
You've been saying for a long time that there would be a falling out between Putin and Trump. So,
Yeah, yeah. I used to run ex-husband's assassination team back in the day. No, I'm just kidding.
okay, all righty
I'm
then.
just kidding.
Um, okay, so here's one. What's going on with Russia and planes leaving Moscow? I don't, have you heard anything?
Russia and who?
What's going on with RU and planes leaving Moscow?
Oh, yes. It was on the news. A whole bunch of top brass from Russia are leaving. I even think Putin's one of them.
They're leaving Moscow?
They're leaving Moscow.
Hmm. There's
They're going to other places in the world. They're leaving Moscow.
because they're probably afraid of an attack.
And also, listen, Russia's doing terribly. My guy that I listened to about Russia, he said the economy is overwhelmingly bad and people are broke and nobody has a job. And you get people starving like that, they're going to fight back.
Chicago has a huge Russian population, but also people from the former Soviet Union, which entailed Ukraine, Russia, Belarus. There's a huge population here. And many of my friends that are Russian are telling me that, distant relatives are people they know in Russia, that it's really bad there. The economy is horrible.
Yes, that's what this guy from the has his podcast, and he's always talking about how it's just getting worse and worse. Oil has dropped big time, and that's how they make their money.
That's right. So I think they're leaving Moscow because they're anticipating huge strikes against Moscow.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Why all of a sudden is it time now for the top people to leave? It's because they got inside information.
And I think they've got information about the downfall that could happen with Putin inside of Russia. So they're all scattering. The other thing is if they all scatter, they're not all in the same place. If there's an attack, they don't get all wiped out at once. But I'm like you, I see Putin being taken out.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's afraid. Oh, his bodyguard, one of his bigwigs, he just had him fired.
Wow.
He's not trusting anybody. He's totally paranoid.
He's becoming like Stalin. The only person Stalin saw would be maybe a couple people toward the end.
Oh, I didn't know that.
One was his chambermaid. He was having an affair with her, and the other was one of his generals. And he would just have a list of names and check off. And when he put a check mark by it, those are the ones that were going to be killed.
Oh my
And
God.
and I think, Putin is doing a lot of that same sort of stuff.
He liked Hitler though.
Uh, who, Stalin?
Yeah, initially he really liked Hitler. And
Well,
Hitler tried to get him out of there.
they
And
had
that's when they got caught. They were in a Jeep and he was wearing Russian uniform and the people saw who he was and that's when they.
they had a non-aggression
Oh
pact.
wait, maybe I've got the wrong one. Maybe it's Mussolini.
I think it was Mussolini.
Mussolini, I'm sorry, you guys. It wasn't Stalin.
They had a
Because
non.
Stalin is still encased in wax.
No, that's Lenin.
Oh, Lenin, sorry. I don't know my Russians from a hole in the ground.
Okay. Uh, this is a good one. Speaking of parades, what's going to happen with the big parade? It'll probably be
I
like,
did a show on that. I see trouble.
so do I. And with all these cuts they're making um, to the government, cutting, trying to do away with the Department of Education, cutting
Well,
this,
they're cutting vets. They're cutting vet benefits.
everything.
And by the way, the Army did you see that? They put out a bulletin and
No, I didn't.
said, we are celebrating the birthday of the Army,
Wow.
200 and some odd years. We are not doing Trump's birthday.
There you go. So, this parade is really going to make people angry because they're going to be like, you're cutting all of these programs, you're cutting this, you're cutting that. Inflation is starting to go sky high, grocery prices, blah, 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 all your tariffs. People need jobs, and yet you're wasting taxpayers' money for your big parade.
Yeah,
It's going to be like, it's that let them eat cake. Now, somebody
yeah,
told me that Marie Antoinette was misquoted, I don't know if she said it or not, but we're not trying to misquote Marie Antoinette. We're just simply saying the idea is let them eat cake when
yeah. Right, right.
wasting more money. All right. Oh, this is a good one. Um, This is by Ms. Fabulous. Mizz Fabulous, Ms. Fabulous.
I
Okay,
love
Ms.
it.
Fabulous, I love the name, but there's can only be one Ms. Fabulous, and that's Linda Grindel. So
Oh, no, no. She's
so
got the name.
you'll have to put Ms. Fabulous Jr. Okay, this is a good one, Ms. Fabulous. And because it's a good question, I am giving you a free half-hour session. So call my office at 846
Whoa,
590-5411.
what a beautiful thing.
Will Vivek Ramaswamy, that's hard to say. It sounds like a disease, doesn't it? I got the Ramaswamy.
Will he promise who?
Will Vivek Ramaswamy be governor of Ohio? The GOP has already endorsed him and had a news conference.
No,
I don't see that.
absolutely not. I remember getting this question before. I can guarantee you he would not win Ohio. Ohio wants nothing to do with him.
I, the hypocrisy of it all, because he's so MAGA, and that whole party tends to be so bigoted and
Well,
racist.
the thing is, boy, are they got it coming too when they find out how unpopular they are. I can't believe they're not waking up. They just had a big graduation a couple of weeks ago with the governor of, was it Ohio? What's the governor's name?
Oh, I don't know the governor of Ohio right now. I can't think of his name.
I think it was Ohio. He's a MAGA, right?
I think, yeah,
And nearly three-quarters of the students walked out.
good for them.
Mhm.
And we're going to see more and more of it.
Youngkin, who is he,
Yes,
the governor?
that's right. I couldn't think.
Yeah, that they showed everybody standing up and walking out.
Wow, good.
Hell to the yeah.
All right. Oh, this is a good one. PM Roveda says, do we lose our guardian angels when we die?
Well, they help you, assist you on going to the other side.
But
They
I
made agreements, contractual agreements to be with you,
but
and they're always part of your spiritual family.
I think once we cross over, you know, once we're on the other side, I think we keep our personality, but my feeling is we become one with them, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's how I see it. I don't, they're still there.
they're always
It's
there.
just in a different realm.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Okay. Um, will the big bonus bill pass in the Senate with a section that states T can call off future elections?
Nope,
No.
not going to happen.
Well, here again, it's what we said earlier that if he tried to call off future elections and that's put in a bill, and if that ever went to the Supreme Court, which it would in a heartbeat, they would say it's unconstitutional. That
Yeah, and also he also says he doesn't have to listen to the Supreme Court.
well,
But did you hear the Supreme Court and other judicial offices are talking about switching some sort of military into their realm so they can use it if needed because they're getting all kinds of death threats and stuff. And they said, no, we need a military also.
my guides had shown me that the courts would find out some way or figure out a way to enforce their decisions. Because right now they can
They
say,
can't do anything.
we're holding you in contempt. We'll send out the federal marshals, and they're controlled by T. Rump. So my guides had shown me that they would come up with some idea to be able to enforce their decisions. And
Let me tell you something. They are going to definitely that Rump doesn't have much more in office, but the things he's done is going to change the makeup.
I really feel they'll get that police force, if you will, to
Yes,
force, you know. Um, okay. So, it's reminiscent though of what Trump said when he was running for office. Vote for me and you'll never have to vote again. Remember when he said that?
it's not going to happen
Not going to happen. Okay.
because when midterms come, he's up for trials for what he's done to this United States for the illegal things, including that airplane.
Um, a lot of these are the same questions about the big beautiful bill, which I think that's why I'm stammering a little bit. I'm reading them, but we're answering them, so we've answered them. So if I omit them, it's because we've already answered them.
Yeah.
Oh, that airplane, isn't that a joke?
Oh my God. And there, I can't remember. Oh, he's having the Army or somebody, the Air Force, work on the plane to upgrade it.
But did you hear that his supposedly like after he's out of office that he can keep that plane?
He
Wrong.
can't.
That plane is going to be confiscated.
It's going to be, he'll never get it to his library. Where's his library going to be? At McDonald's?
I love the thing that you sent me from Facebook is the presidential library today has burned all two books.
All two books have burned and he just got done coloring in the second one.
It was I was laughing. I sent that to everybody. It was so funny. Okay. Uh, let's see. Oh, this is a good one. Andrea Montgomery says, "Do you see another pandemic?" Um, Not to the extent that COVID was, but
Yeah,
I do see another epidemic coming,
yeah.
but it's not going to cause the shutdowns. But I'm thinking even if it was, they would try to hold it back. They wouldn't
I
in
just got a weird hit
go ahead, what was it?
that with the melting of the poles, that some virus or bacteria will be let loose and it's going to be a very unusual disease we'll face. That's what I get.
It's amazing that you said that because I've been saying for a number of years that I didn't pick it up from the polls, but with, deforestation of, jungles and rainforest, there are viruses that have been isolated there for thousands and thousands of years, and that there would be a virus let go that could create havoc. And so I think we're on the same page. We're just a little bit differing from, does it come from the Arctic or does it come from the jungle?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, we got to watch. We really need to watch these things, you know. I do see another epidemic. I'm worried more about measles. Um, and, RFK wouldn't tell us, but I think, media leaks and things like that, people will know about it.
Right, exactly, exactly.
I'm worried about measles. That one's concerning me. Okay.
But I don't see it being an epidemic. I see enough people have been are immune to it.
Well, I don't see a pandemic. A pandemic is more
Pandemic. Yeah.
global. Epidemic means it's just relegated to a certain.
People who don't aren't immune to it. And that the thing is these babies, they can't protect themselves.
No, it's like herd immunity. That we have, had the disease, but that's why they say don't vaccinate. But I believe in vaccinations. I really
Me
do.
too.
Okay. Uh, Horse Nut says, will they find Jack 4 and Lily 6, the two young children reported missing 3 weeks ago in rural Nova Scotia, in Canada, I guess.
Are they two wee ones, little ones?
Jack is 4 and Lily is
Yeah,
6.
because I looked at their faces and I didn't feel they were alive.
I don't either.
Yeah,
And I don't like to comment on that publicly because if I
yeah,
feel a life force, I never want to take away hope.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Well, they're not dead, but yeah. You know what I'm saying? They're spiritually running around free.
Right. But their physical body is
Yeah,
okay. Um, CK Ventures, this is a good one, actually. What is going to happen to Nebraska small farmers? I'm going to extrapolate and say what's going to happen to small farmers, period.
yeah.
Will the little guy make it, the small farmer make it? Do you see farms being taken over by wealthy investors? That's
Oh,
a really good question.
it's really sad.
I,
I'm
I,
gonna throw on that.
while you're throwing
He's
out,
not giving any kind of help to the farmers. Nothing, not a dime.
and you know what, the farmers are going to be the ones that are, and a lot of the other people that he's kind of impacted with all these crazy cuts, they're going to be the ones that are going to stand up and say, some of them that were for him are going to say no more. You know,
Yeah. I
uh,
see them holding on the best they can. I don't know. What I see is a lot of them holding on. I see the rich people trying to buy them, but I see them holding on.
well, I think part of this behind the scenes is the way for these wealthy investors in these larger companies to force the small farms out of business so that these big companies can take them over and just have this huge conglomerate.
But where are they working at? Where are these wealthy people working at? Because you can't get any workers.
That they can always find a way, trust me.
They're begging for people to pick crops in Florida.
Well, and that's going to hurt the farmers too. Uh, but the bottom line is, like these huge food companies, I'm talking about like that, they want to take over these small farms. They don't want them to make it because then they can control the market even more. What I see happening is because of the higher food costs, supply chain shortage, and all of that stuff, that a lot of farmers markets are going to be flourishing. A lot of people now are turning to
Oh,
farm.
that sounds excellent. Yes.
And
People
so,
enjoy, and I know a lot of people are saying they're starting to go to their farmers market.
me too. And
Yeah.
I think that's really going to help the farmers markets a lot. Unfortunately, there will be a few of the small guys that will have to go out of business. But I see the farmers coming together in some sort of oneness, if you will. When I say union, I don't know if it's a labor union, but them coming together and standing firm together and saying, no, these cuts are affecting us, and here's what's happening, and we're not going to stand for it. So they're going to form a coalition that'll
There
end.
you go. Yeah,
That's what I see. So
there you go. That sounds perfect.
I'm all about the small farmer because my dad's family were all farmers.
Same with my family.
Right.
All my out in the Ozarks in Missouri, they were all farmers.
And
My ex-husband looked up my genealogy and it says, I got good news and bad news. I said, what's that? He said, your great 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 grandfather owned land. And but the bad news is, and he was a farmer, the bad news is he couldn't read or write.
wow.
And I said, well, he doesn't need to read or write. He owns land.
Right. That's right. My grandfather only went to the second grade because many years ago, my grandfather was born in 1895, believe it or not. My grandmother in 1902. She went to the eighth grade, which was considered an education in those days.
Yeah.
What happened was is because they were large families, they had large families because there was not much to do except watch the corn grow and other things, but also to help survive because then the kids would work on the farm. And so my grandfather, when he was just a kid, he was taken out of school because he had to help work to feed the family.
In fact, a lot of schools, Abraham Lincoln did that. A lot of schools would let out during, especially, when the crops were ready, they maybe didn't have schools or they let them out early to go around the schedule of their parents.
Well, that's how summer vacations come about. Traditionally, it would start in May, right before or right after Memorial Day, and you wouldn't go back to school until the day after Labor Day because it allowed the kids to work on the farm. My grandfather could just barely sign his name. He couldn't read or write much. But it was, we used to go along with him because he'd say, my sight ain't what it used to be. Can you help me? Can you cipher this for me? Can you read that for me? Because I can't see it. He could, but that was his way of covering.
Okay.
But he could build anything. He was really good at drawing. Uh, he was just, he was quiet. My grandmother, I'm more like her, the talkative one. And I remember he used to chew tobacco.
Now I know a lot of them did.
Well, when you were in the car with them, they had years ago the gear shift, if it was a standard transmission, was on the column and not.
Yeah.
And if you were on his side of the car and you were in the back seat, don't put your window down because when he would spit tobacco out the window,
It hit you.
we would duck.
Yeah. I know my first husband, whatchamacallit, his dad was a drunk and mean. And one day he came home drunk and he told all his boys he had a big old car. I don't know what it was. Get in the car, we're going fishing. And it was dark outside. And you knew better than to tell him you got to pee. But one of the boys had to pee really bad. So he gives him a cup. And I think it was his brother Emil. And Emil peed in the cup and handed the cup back to his dad. But he had the window down. And
Oh
he threw it out the window and it come flying back in his face.
my God. Oh
I
yeah.
know one time he came home and Charlie was spending the night at another friend's house. And he picked up the kid in the bed where Charlie would have been because another kid was spending the night at their house and beat the crap out of him, thinking it was Charlie.
Oh.
And the kid went running home in the snow in his underwear. Oh, it caused a lot of trouble. What an idiot.
I'm excited because my cousin called me yesterday. Um, Last time I saw her is when her mom died, my Aunt Betty. And I used to go spend the summers with them. And in the beginning, when I go there for the whole summer, it was out in the country. They didn't have running water, they didn't have plumbing. At night, my aunt had this old Chevy, three on the column. If you went over 30, the front would shake because it was out of alignment. But there was a lot of hills. And we used to ask to go fast down the hill because you could feel it in your tummy. Every night we'd go to this, there was a public water faucet, and it was like a gathering space. And she'd have these big jugs of water we'd fill up and bring home every night. and that was such a treat to get to go get water, you know.
Yeah.
But my cousin called me, and there's the three of them are going to come in July and spend 7 or 8 days with me. So I'm really excited.
Are they staying at your house or someplace
Well, I
else?
told them they could stay here. There's three or four of them coming. So I said, well, if I've got 3 bedrooms, but I said, some can sleep on the couch, you can sleep on the floor. I don't care. And they're like, well, we'll stay in a hotel close by. I said, well, that's up to you, but you're welcome.
Yeah, back in our younger days, though, remember we would sleep at somebody's house, sleep on the floor, no problem.
Oh my God. Yeah,
No problem. But now I got to have my own bathroom.
yeah, me too.
And everybody always offers their house. Oh, come stay with me. I got a spare room. I got to have my own space with my own bathroom.
Yeah, that's important, I think. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Amma Deanne says, hi, Mel and Linda. This is good. What's the political future of France, Germany, and Eastern countries, Poland, Hungary, and Bulgaria? That's a very good question. Um, I think, well, number one, Hungary, they've kind of got the president there is kind of like the European version of a MAGA. Um, I see him out of office. I don't see him.
Is that the place where they just had a thing on the voting and saw that he would, if they had the voting now, he would lose big time?
I don't know actually, but he's just horrible. He's like a Trump, but I see him out of office. Bulgaria, a lot of countries in Eastern Europe are nervous because of the whole Russia thing. But Bulgaria, I think, is part of the European Union. And when you go to Bulgaria, right on the Rhine River, on the Danube, I'm sorry, there's a monument there that it was about what it was like under the communist times and it says never again.
Wow.
So they're democratic. Poland will never, Poland will fight back.
They'll fight big time.
They're
But
demo
don't forget, I see Putin going before the end of the year.
So do I.
When Putin's gone and Trump is, kicked out, things will get better.
And in Germany, I see an end to that Alice Weidel or what her name is and that neo-Nazi movement. I see that coming crashing down, thank goodness. France, the ultra right wings are going to think that they're gaining impetus, but they won't.
They won't. They're going to be like Australia and Canada. For
That's
a while there, they looked like they could win. And because of what Trump's doing, Trump is ruining it for everybody.
ruining it for everybody. That's right. So
You
anyway,
can't have nothing nice when Trump's around.
I'm hearing their democracies will hold.
Did you hear that violinist Yo-Yo, what's his name? It's Yo-Yo something. He's Japanese, I think. He
Okay.
refused to perform at the Kennedy Center. And
Oh,
they said Trump was furious.
oh well. And that's what's going to happen. A lot of musicians, a lot of people, even in big orchestras, a lot of singers, a lot of actors and actresses are going to refuse to perform.
Yeah.
This is a good one. Mazzy, 4444. Um, do you see the financial markets correcting soon? Will our retirements take a significant hit? If so, when? Oh, I think the markets are going to kind of be all over the
I
place.
see them on a roller coaster ride.
There's going to be a lot more big hits with these tariffs. We're
And
going
he's
to,
manipulating to help his rich friends.
of course, he's manipulating to help his rich friends, like you just said, but also himself. But
Yeah.
Linda, once he's gone, I see a big part of the money that he's gotten pretty much illegally. I see that gone. I don't know if they confiscate
I
it.
think they freeze everything and won't let him touch it.
There you go.
He's going to be furious.
So he's going to lose a big part of his fortune, if you will. And I see the same thing for Elon Musk.
Yeah.
He's already getting,
Elon Musk's dad just announced his son can't be racist because he would talk to the servants.
oh, jeez,
There you have it.
that says it all. Well, his parents were apartheid in South Africa, and
Yeah.
that was not good. All right. Um, the thing with the stock market is not to panic sell. You know, you just have to kind of sit on it and hatch it out. Just you have to hurry up and wait because the people that panic sell when the market takes a hit, then you lose money.
Well, we really went down in 2008
Oh yeah,
and with COVID. I do see it dropping. I do see the housing really going through trouble
so do I.
because nobody's going to buy nothing. The interest rate's too high.
And the other part of it is with all these tariffs, you know, it's like Biden said, you're going to be paying more money for less of the candy bar.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question real quick.
Yeah,
The money that Satan, him and his wife stole from the fund that was supposed to go towards the hurricane. Is there huge trouble coming?
absolutely. My guy,
Thank you.
my guides had shown me that when that happened, that at some point that was going to be under investigation and questioning the legality of it. And I see the courts telling him he's got to pay it back, and if he doesn't, they'll confiscate things to make sure a lot of it is paid back.
Good, good.
He's going to be a political, as you say, nothing burger after Trump is gone.
Yeah,
I even
yeah.
think Floridians are tired of him.
Yeah, and you notice they're not really talking, they're kind of staying in the background.
That's right. That's right. This is funny. Vivi Dinka says, when Mel and Linda get together, it's gonna get cray cray. You got your thank you.
We both get complaints that we talk over each other or we're interrupting each other all the time. I've never seen people so miserable in my life.
You know what I have to say to that?
What? It's like if it's that kind of show that it disturbs you, just don't watch it.
I'll watch it. People also comment though they love watching the banter and they love the interaction.
The back and oh, and I'm being mean to you, by the way.
Oh, please. Well, people have told me I'm mean to you too, so it's like,
Yeah,
you know, um, but most of the
we're
people
kinfolk. We get it.
we do
This is
this.
who we are. We banter.
We're like brother and sister.
Yeah,
But a lot of people say they like it because it's just the banter. It's like watching the two of us like talking over coffee or something.
yeah, yeah.
All the pretenses. There's no pretense. It's like we are who we are.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, we got time for a few more. So,
Well, we got 2 minutes.
okay, there you go.
10:58.
Hi, you delectable duo. Will South Africa manage to save their trade deals with U.S. or get any new deals following the disaster meeting last week? Ooh, that's a good
Ooh.
question. Here again, I think it's Trump trying to muscle them into doing what he wants.
I don't see them doing what he wants.
No, I don't either. Absolutely not.
They
So,
might suffer a little bit. Listen, all we got to do is batten down the hatch for about a year, another what, 2 years? Because even though the voting happens in November of next year, which is 18 months away, they won't get put into office until January.
that's right. That's right. So, just one more, then I know you got to go. This is a good one. Non-USA question. That's all right. We talk about domestic stuff and international stuff. Do you see a future where the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland unite into a single united Ireland? If so, do you have any chance of how far in the future this will be?
Are they still mad at each other due to religious stuff?
Well, I think it was the Protestants and the Catholics.
Yeah, that's religious.
I know.
I think this new pope is going to tell his Catholics, open up, make amends with them.
Well, he already is. He's opening the church. The church is opening its arms to everybody.
Yeah.
And he's all about peace because, that was the order
I
that
do see that happening, but it's a little ways away. I can see it down the road.
I see years, I mean, not 50 years, but maybe within a decade or so. I do see a united Ireland. I've been saying that for a long time. And please, people of Irish descent, don't start sending me all kinds of nasty emails and stuff. It's just what I see. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I don't know if it'll happen. It seems at least 5 years away,
that's
but
right.
it'll happen.
Um, okay,
And
so
one's euro and one's sterling pound.
there you go. Well, Northern Ireland would have to break away from the UK but I also see some point Scotland breaking away and becoming its own entity.
I thought that was going to happen years ago. There was all kinds of rumors of this happening when I was dating that guy from Scotland.
It's going to
They
happen.
were all talking about breaking away.
I've been reading British history. I've always loved British history. It's fascinating. So,
Yeah.
Linda, you've got a show coming up right after
Yeah.
with Sherry.
Yes. With Sherry.
She is such a sweetheart. I love her.
Yeah, she's great.
She's a sweetie. All right. So, Linda, next week your show, and
Next week.
I'll talk to Andrew about maybe getting him on, and we can.
Yeah, let's just do it. It doesn't have to be long, just a little.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, maybe
Bye,
we.
you guys.
All right. Bye bye.